Guys, it's Rhonda and welcome to a new video. Today I am doing another book haul. These are going to be all of the books I have acquired since my last book haul, which I think was a few weeks ago. This is not a big haul. This is pretty modest. I have about, I think, 16 books that I want to go over and share with you guys. And I've been doing pretty good with my book buying. I haven't been going as crazy as I could. You guys know I read a lot. I read between 14 and 20 books a month. And I'm also a book buyer. That is one of my hobbies. Reading is a hobby as well as buying books. And that is just what I enjoy doing. I love hanging out in bookstores. But let's start with my book of the month box that I got for this month, which is November. This is not a sponsored video. I have been a subscriber for almost 2 years now. I use my own money. But if you have been interested in joining book of the month, I do have a link down in the description box. And if you click on that link, you can get your first book box for $5. And it is a win-win situation. You get your first book for $5 and I get a book credit for a future book. So we are kind of helping each other out. But let's open this up and let me show you which 2 books I got. So the book that I picked for this month is Cursed Daughters by, please forgive me with the author's name, but I think it's Owen Con Braithwaite. I'm so sorry. But this is going to be kind of like your lit fic or contemporary fiction. In this book, we're following a woman who, when she was born, her cousin died on the same day. And as she was getting older, her family thought that she was the reincarnation of that cousin who died. And this is going to be kind of like a multi-generational type story. It's going to be about a family that is destined for heartbreak because there is a curse that's attached to this family as well, where they cannot know true love. And I just think this is just going to be a hard-hitting and sweeping saga of family secrets, and probably it's going to be an emotional read. And I did get an add-on this month, and the book that I added on is Where He Left Me by Nicole Bart. This is going to be a mystery thriller, and apparently this is about a woman whose husband disappears, and he kind of leaves her in this house during a snowstorm, and she starts looking for answers as to where he's at, why he disappeared, by kind of digging into his past. So this one is definitely going to be more psychological. So those are the 2 books I got from Book of the Month, and like I said, use that link, get your first box for $5, and I hope you enjoy Book of the Month as much as I do. Like I said, I've been a member for almost 2 years, and I've really enjoyed it. I found actually probably my favorite book of the year. I probably would not have read it had I not been a subscriber for this book box. All right, let's move on to the rest of the books. I have a mixed bag. I have one book that I got for free from a friend of mine. I got a couple of books from Dollar Tree. I did get a couple of books that I thrifted from Pango Books, and then the rest came from Target, Barnes, and Amazon. So the rest of them come from the usual places. Let's start with the book that I got for free, and I got this from a friend of mine who told me about her in-person book club. Apparently they read this book and she didn't really like it, but I do like this author, so she just gave me this book, and that is Grady Hendrix's new book called Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I think this is about a group of unwed mothers who are sent off to this place to have their babies, but while they are there, some witchy things are happening, or they learn to become witches. I do like Grady Hendrix books. I've read a few of his books now. 2 of them I really loved, 1 of them I didn't. And he writes horror that has gore. They're very quirky and different, and he also writes really good dark comedy. So that's why I enjoy Grady Hendrix, and I am looking forward to reading this one. Next up are 2 books that I got from Dollar Tree. Several weeks ago, I did post a Dollar Tree book shopping video where I went to a few different Dollar Trees, and then I came home and I showed you all the books that I got, and I think I got 7 books, and I haven't read them yet, but I'm super excited to read them. But each of those books were $1.50, and I thought that was a great deal. And after I posted that video, a couple of you told me about books that I overlooked and said I should go back and get them, and I did. So one of those books is The Woman on the Ledge by Ruth Mancini. This is, I think, going to be kind of like a psychological thriller. So in this one, a woman apparently falls from a London office building, like from 25 floors. Then our main character is arrested for her murder, but that person is saying, hey, I didn't do this, but no one believes her. That is what this one is about. Sounds really interesting, and I love a good psychological thriller. And then the last book I got from Dollar Tree is The 7 Rules of Elvira Carr by Frances Maynard. I think this is just a general fiction or a women's fiction. And I've mentioned before that I really love books that have a neurodivergent main character, and the person who said I needed to go back and get this told me that our main character in this book, Elvira, is neurodivergent. And so I was like, that's all you need to say. So I ran to Dollar Tree that day and picked this up. But in this book, we're following Elvira, who again is neurodivergent. And as people who are on the spectrum or who are neurodivergent, they have a schedule they need to stick to. They're very particular about how they do things, and that's how our main character has been her whole life, and her mother has always helped her with that. But her mother has had a stroke, and I think she passes away. So that leaves Elvira having to kind of navigate this life and this world without her mom and learning to do for herself. And I think it's just going to be just a heartwarming story about a young woman who's just trying to do her best in a world that doesn't understand her. And I can't wait to get into this one. I think I'm gonna love it. The next 2 books I got are 2 books from Pango Books. In case you don't know, I do sell some of the books that I unhaul on Pango Books, and I will have that linked below as well in case you want to go look at my store and see if there's any books you want to purchase. But in addition to having my store on Pango Books, I also like to buy books. And one of the books I got used is A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Meisner. And the woman on Bookstagram who was talking about this book just said it was just a very beautiful and sweeping story, and it made me want to read it. But the blurb says, a beautiful scarf connects 2 women touched by tragedy in this compelling emotional novel from the author of As Bright as Heaven and The Last Year of the War. And this book is actually told through the POV of 2 different women in 2 different timelines. The first one is September of 1911 on Ellis Island in New York Harbor. And then the second one is September 2011 on Manhattan's Upper West Side. And apparently they come in contact with this scarf, and they are, I guess, connected through this scarf in some way. So the way this woman talked about this book, it made me want to read it right then and there. So I went ahead and purchased this book, and I can't wait to get to it. So the same seller who had this for sale in her shop also had the book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. And I did read one other book by this author earlier this year. I read her new release called The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. That one is a historical fiction about a 90-year-old jewel thief, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I wanted to read some of her backlist, so I had this book kind of on my mental radar, and when I saw this was for sale in the same shop, I went ahead and grabbed it. But this is another historical fiction, and I believe it's about a woman who fled Paris after the arrest of her father during World War II. And she found refuge in a small mountain town in the Free Zone, and apparently she became a female forger who pretty much risked everything to help Jewish children escape Nazi-occupied France by giving them new identities. But she wanted them to be able to know who they really were, because a lot of them were too young to know who they were. So she has this book, and she writes their real name, I'm assuming, with their new identity, so that they can go back and find their roots again. So that's what this one is about. I think it's going to be so emotional, like all historical fiction books based on World War II and the horrific things that happened, and I'm sure I'm gonna cry my eyes out. Next up, I have 3 books that I got from Target. A couple of them I got during their sale. Target a few weeks ago had their buy one get one half off sale, or their 25% off sale, and I went there specifically to get one book, and not knowing that they were having that sale, so I went ahead and grabbed another one so I could take advantage of that savings. But the book I went to Target to get was Good Spirits by B.K. Borison, and this is going to be a little bit of a retelling of A Christmas Carol. This is about a man who is the ghost of Christmas past, and a woman who is kind of like Scrooge, and I've heard really good things about this. All of the initial reviews coming in about this book have been great. I have read 2 books by B.K. Borison. I read her last new release called First Time Caller. I thought that one was just okay. And then last Christmas, I read Love Light Farms, the first book in that series, and really enjoyed it. I thought it was so cute. And I did read the second book in that series called, I think, In the Weeds, and didn't really love that one, but I do have her other books from that series I need to get to. But I think this is going to be cute and sweet and fun, and I cannot wait to read it during this holiday season. Then, because I got that one, the second book that I got on the same day is The Lost Story of Eva Fuentes by Chanel Clayton. And this was on my radar. I think in August, I posted a video about all of the new releases that were coming out this fall, and this was one of the ones I had my eyes on. And this is a book about a book, and it just says 3 women, 1 book, a century of secrets. But this is told through the POV of a few different women set in different times. The first woman we're following is a Cuban school teacher, and it's set in Boston in 1900. And then the second woman is a librarian, and that one is in Havana in 1966. And then finally, we're following an American living in London in 2024. And apparently there is a mysterious book that connects these 3 women. I personally love books about books, and I think this is just going to be a book that's going to have secrets and drama. And I think there's a little bit of a mystery. So cannot wait to get to this. Last book that I got from Target, I did get it on a separate day, so I did not get it as part of that sale, but I got Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. Eiley. This book was not originally on my radar, but I have been seeing this book everywhere, and people who have read it have been gushing about it, so of course I naturally want to read it too. But this book is about 3 women who I believe are all murdered by the same man, and they meet up in the afterlife, which is really unique, and they meet up to just kind of help them move on, and also to kind of find justice for what happened to them. But I've heard this book is about vengeance and rage, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. This is a beautiful copy. It has sprayed edges, and then it says, "Dead women don't forget." So can't wait to read it. Next up are 3 books that I got from Barnes & Noble. 2 of these books I have already hauled. I hauled them in my last video. It was a cozy fall day video. We went book shopping, and then I came back and showed you what I got. But the first one is Kooky Spooky Love by Josie Silver. This is the second book in the Melody Bittersweet series that she's written. The first one was Crazy Spooky Love. Really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think I upped it to 4 stars on Goodreads. But this entire series is going to be Ghostbusters meets Scooby-Doo. So this is just a continuation of that first book. But in this book, we're following Melody Bittersweet once again, and she's trying to solve a new ghostly mystery. It says, the ghost of a trapeze artist is the least of Melody Bittersweet's worries, with her own heart walking the high wire. So, love the first one. Cannot wait to get to the second one. And then I got a holiday book called While It Was Snowing by Julia London. I have read several books by this author. She is known as a historical romance author, and I've really enjoyed those books. But last year, she released her first contemporary fiction for adults called Nice Work, Nora November, and I love that book. I thought it was really good. It's about mental health, and I had a great time reading it. But this past month, she also released another adult contemporary fiction book called Everything Is Probably Fine. I have started that book. I'm just in the beginning. It just started, so I can't give you too much information on it. But this is her first adult holiday romance, and I can't wait to read it this holiday season. It just says, under the mistletoe, a single mom and a professional athlete, I think he's a hockey player, they have more in common than the lake house they unexpectedly have to share for the holidays. So these are 2 people. I guess they booked the same Airbnb, and neither one wants to leave, so they both end up sharing this vacation house. So this is definitely going to be forced proximity, and her books, at least what I've read so far for adult contemporary books, always have a lot more depth to them than what you're expecting. There is a little bit of a romance, but that romance is usually kind of a side plot. It's more about the depth of our female main character and what she's going through, and that's why I've enjoyed her book so far. This is another book I cannot wait to get to this holiday season. The last book that I got from Barnes is a book that I also talked about in that fall new release video, and that is The White Octopus Hotel by Alexandra Bell. I was wanting to read this one just because I wasn't sure if this was about reincarnation or if this was a time travel book, but the little blurb reads, journey to a magical hotel in the Swiss Alps where 2 lost souls living in different centuries meet and discover if a second chance awaits them behind its doors. Apparently, a art appraiser living in London in 2015 shakes the hand of this older man, and she feels like she's met him before. She knows him, but she can't pinpoint where. And then you're following, his name is Max, and then you're jumping to 1935 at the White Octopus Hotel. And there is a woman by the name of Eve and a young Max, and they wander the winding halls, lost in time. Each of them has been through the trenches, Eve through a family accident, and Max on the battlefields of the Great War. But for a moment, love and healing are just a room away if only they have the courage to step through the door. So this is, I think it's going to be a lost love. There's some magical realism going on. I just think this is going to be just a sweeping love story. Not a romance, just a good, true love story involving magical realism, and I think I'm going to love this one. So I cannot wait to read this one. The last 3 books I want to talk about are 3 books that I got from Amazon. And the first one is another holiday romance, and I'm telling you, my holiday TBR is stacked. If you're not subscribed, please do, because I plan to do a video on all of the holiday romances that have come out this year that are on my radar. I'm also going to do a holiday TBR video, and it's going to be great, so definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss the holiday content that's coming your way. But the first book that I got from Amazon is Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon by Matthew Norman. This is another book I heard about on Instagram, and I immediately added it to my cart just because I typically read a lot of fluffy holiday romances. I don't read a ton of books with depth, and I felt like this one was going to give me that depth that I probably would want during the holiday season. But this says, it is a sentimental, advertising, creative and blunt, no-nonsense bar owner finds a second chance at love while binge-watching iconic holiday movies in this poignant and heartwarming romance. Apparently, this is about Grace and Henry, and they both lost their spouses, and this is their first Christmas without them. And they are, I think they're set up by their parents or something, I'm not sure, but they end up hanging out and just watching holiday movies together, and they bond over their heartache and these movies, and I just think this is going to be so sweet, and I'm probably going to cry. So another book to add to my holiday reading stack. I have 2 books by the same author. I read Emma of 83rd Street, I think either this past spring or summer. Really enjoyed it. It is the first book of a series that these authors are doing where they are retelling Jane Austen novels, and that first one was obviously a retelling of Emma, and the second book is Elizabeth of East Hampton, and this is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So I got this one, and then they came out with their 3rd book in the series, which is a holiday romance, of course. This one just came out this past week, and that is Anne of Avenue A. This one is a retelling of Persuasion. It's going to be obviously a second chance trope, and it's set during the holiday season. So again, another book to add to my holiday reads this holiday season. Okay, my book friends, these are the 16 books that I have gotten over this past month, and I can't wait to read them. When am I going to get to all of these? I don't know, but I have a wide variety of genres. I have some holiday reads to get to this holiday season. I have some thrillers. I have some contemporary fiction, a horror book. I have women's fiction and historical fiction. I have everything. So I'm very pleased with the books I've gotten this past month. But I am very, very excited to read all of these books. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books and if there's any books I really need to read first. Also, let me know if there's any books that you haven't read that you're curious about, and maybe I can try and get to them before my next wrap up. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.